The first thing to know then is that intuitions are held to be hugely important within ethics. This is because philosophers often use thought experiments to try to generate intuitions and test their ethical theories. So consider utilitarianism as a candidate ethical theory. So utilitarianism says that the correct action in a given circumstance is the one that generates the greatest happiness for the greatest number. And this is a principle that's been defended by loads of philosophers, famously including Jeremy Bentham and John Stuart Mill. So, in order to try and test the plausibility of this ethical theory, what a lot of philosophers will do is to try and come up with cases where we try and apply this theory and see what it says that we ought to do. And then we should think about whether those prescriptions made by the theory are things that seem reasonable to us. And this is where the role of intuitions comes in. So, as I say here, philosophers might seek to test this theory with cases like the trolley problem. So we talked about the trolley problem previously. But the original instance is the trolley is going down the track and it will hit 5 people, but you have the option to pull the lever and move the trolley onto a second track, which only has 1 person on it. So thinking about what utilitarianism would suggest in this case, it seems like it's obviously going to suggest that we should pull the lever and kill the 1 person in order to save the 5. And so why is this the case? It's because 5 people's happiness is going to outweigh the unhappiness of 1 person on the second track. And this seems to fit with most people's intuitions about what we should do in the trolley problem case, as it is normally understood. So points for utilitarianism. It seems like this is something that is going to be used to support the theory because it captures our intuitive judgment. But we're going to think about a second variation on the trolley problem, which is detailed in this picture here. So instead of there being 1 person off to the side on the second track and you can pull a lever, there is somebody on a footbridge that's over the track who is a fat person. And instead we've still got 5 people on the track with the trolley hurtling towards them. And in this variation, instead of pulling the lever to change the track to kill 1 person, you're presented with the option of whether you should throw the fat person over the bridge in order to use their body weight to stop the trolley. So we're going to assume that you know that if the person were thrown in front of the trolley, then that would be sufficient to stop the trolley and save the 5 people. The question is, should you do this? And at least for most people, it seems like intuitively the answer is definitely no, or at least this seems like a much harder ethical sell than the first case with just simply pulling the lever. So we might wonder about why this is the case, and great volumes of philosophy have been written about whether this is something that can be sustained through arguments. But the thing that we care about today is that it seems like we have a strong intuition that we should not do this. We should not throw this person over the bridge in order to simply stop the trolley. But going back to what the utilitarian is going to say, the utilitarian situation is quite the same, which is the happiness of the 5 people is going to outweigh the unhappiness of the 1 person. And so the utilitarian principle strictly applied seems to suggest that we should throw the fat person over the bridge. There might be disagreements about whether we're applying utilitarianism correctly here, but I'm just going to assume that that's the case. And so it seems like here intuitions are being used effectively as arguments against ethical theories. So lots of people would make this kind of argument, which is utilitarianism says X, in this case, throw the fat person over the bridge to stop the trolley. Premise 2, X is unacceptable, intuitively speaking. We have a strong intuition that we should not throw the fat person over the bridge. And therefore, conclusion, we should reject utilitarianism. As I say here, when ethical theories conflict with our intuitions, this is usually seen as a reason to reject them. But the crucial thing to think about here is that in order for this argumentative move to make sense, we must be assuming that our intuitions have some kind of value, that our intuitions are worth prioritizing instead of our ethical theory.